Good morning, everyone. It's wonderful to be here today. Thanks for joining me. I, uh, I'm happy to be here. I'm grateful to have the opportunity to share this understanding and these truths that have been given to me by the consciousness of total, the total, all that is. And it's given to me to share with you. That's my duty, if you will, in this life, my dharma, if you will, in this life. And I'm grateful for it. I'm truly grateful for it. And I'm grateful that you're here so that I can share it with you. If you're out there, please send me a little message. Let me know you're there. You can just say hi. That'll be great. Let's start off with a little breathing exercise to get us centered in our body. And so we begin with in through the nose, hold, out through the mouth. In through the nose, hold, out through the mouth. Continue. In through the nose, hold, out through the mouth. Open your eyes and bat them a couple of times and wiggle your fingers and toes and be present. So I greet you today. I am the presence of God wherever I am. You are the presence of God wherever you are. And the whole point of this human three-dimensional experience is to realize for each individual the presence of God as themselves. Prior to each incarnation, we have the opportunity to choose what it is and where we're going. We are eternal. We are eternal. We know what we're doing, when we're doing it, wherever we are. We are the presence of God wherever we are. Whether it be here in this earth plane, on this three-dimensional free will plane, or whether it be in the ethers, in a place yet unable for me to describe, we are the presence of God. We know as God knows. And we choose to fulfill our duty, our destiny as the presence of God, to live this existence, given that the whole can experience it, so that all that is has the opportunity to experience all that is. And that isn't intended to be confusing or whatever, but what's necessary to understand and remember is that this language, this human language, whether it be American English or Great Britain English or German or Italian or Swedish or Thai or Japanese or Chinese or Native American, Navajo, Hopi, Apache, whatever the language is, it is limited and therefore unavailable to express the total manifestation of ourselves as the presence of God and of all that is that which we are. And what happens here in this three-dimensional plane, excuse me, is that we are in a place where we must choose, because this is a free will experience on this three-dimensional earth plane. We must choose to experience ourselves as the presence of God. And to experience ourselves as the presence of God, we must overcome the fear that has been laid upon us as part of the overall activity invested in realizing the desire of the presence of God. From the moment we are conceived in our mother's womb, we are experiencing everything that our mother is experiencing. So every joy and every sorrow, every elation and every concern, every anxiety is manifest in the mother and through the fetus. And that experience, that approximately 9-month experience, is cataloged in the developing mind of the fetus, is cataloged on the hard drive in the computer known as the brain of the fetus, and is brought out of the womb into this light of day, this three-dimensional plane, and is then built upon so as to condition this spiritual being that has chosen to live on this three-dimensional plane as a human being to accept that human beingness is all there is. We're conditioned for that experience. And all of the conditioning, all of it, resides in the subconscious. And that conditioning, which the psychologists say is about 8 living years worth plus the womb period. So it's close to 9 years worth of conditioning to a completely, absolutely absorbing, like a sponge, brain of this child, human. And out of that conditioning, we operate in this three-dimensional world. We are conditioned in that period, in that 9-year period, we are conditioned to be able to receive the trainings as we move forward. We are programmed so as to take updates, if you will, as we move forward. Yet, just like on my computer that I'm talking to you on this morning, if I don't allow the updates, they're not logged into the brain, into the hard drive. And so it's highly possible for me to operate as a full-blown 69-year-old human being entirely out of training that I received in the first 9 years of my existence as a human being in this incarnation. And so, if in fact I choose to realize myself as the presence of God, if I choose to surrender being human and choose to embrace being spiritual, having a human experience, then there is much updating that is necessary. And that updating, just like happens in the computer, requires uninstalling certain aspects and reinstalling new aspects. It's no different. No different. Yet we must consciously choose to retrain our subconscious. We must consciously choose to experience relieving or uninstalling the previous information. We must overcome that training that was given to us to survive long enough to have the free will choice in this three-dimensional plane to choose to be a spiritual being having a human experience. And what I know from my own experience of retraining and retraining myself, the most available and the most impactful application available is repetition. 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 For me to remove a previous installation in my subconscious, it requires me to install and reinstall until the installation takes. This happens frequently with our computers. This box that's looking at me right now, the same way. Updates come through, they don't install properly, and the whole computer gets jammed up. And then I run cleaners, and then I run software to align all that. And sometimes it happens and it takes, and sometimes it doesn't. And I shut it off. I quote, end quote, reboot the computer. And then I turn it back on, and it takes, or it doesn't take. And then I shut the computer off again. I unplug all power source. I take the battery out, shut off all power. from the three-dimensional plane, leave it for about 30 seconds, put the battery back in, plug the power back in, turn it back on, and in most cases it takes. But sometimes it don't. And then I literally have to take the computer, over to the computer experts, and they have to take care of it with their special tools. For me, that's not much different than going to the acupuncturist or the massage therapist or the chiropractor or the Reiki practitioner or the Tesla energy work practitioner or to the allopathic doctor in some cases. But the work initially begins with me. The relieving of the conditioning of the fear that was given to me so I could survive to the point that I could choose to experience myself as a spiritual being must be replaced. And the replacing of it requires affirmation. It requires me to affirm on a regular and continuous basis that I am a spiritual being, having a human experience. And the same is so for every single one of us. And if we truly desire to see a different way of being on this planet Earth, if we truly desire to see a place where peace and harmony and happiness exists, we must choose consciously to uninstall all the fear and reinstall all the faith and peace and knowledge and serenity and understanding. It just takes repetition. It simply takes doing it. Just like learning how to dribble the basketball. Regardless of the condition of my physicality, regardless of everything there is about it, if I simply practice dribbling the basketball, I will learn how to do it. Now, needless to say, if I have a damaged vehicle, if this vehicle, this body is damaged, then another example is going to be required. Yet, with the average operating system of a human body, dribbling a basketball is a good analogy. Get a basketball, hit it, it goes down, it comes up, hit it again, it goes down, it comes up, hit it again, it goes down, it comes up. Sometimes it goes off this way, that way, up, down. Just keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it, standing still. Pretty soon, it'll happen. You can bounce the ball. Now, start walking slowly forward, bouncing the ball. One step at a time, one step at a time. That's how to learn how to bounce the ball and to replace not knowing how to bounce the ball and the fear that you'll never bounce the ball. overcoming the fear that we are programmed with to survive is no different. And we literally have to start at the fundamental base of the belief system and move forward from there. For those of us who believe there is nothing beyond just being here, then we have to come to a consciousness that there is order in this universe. We have to come to the consciousness that this order has direction. We can look up at the sky at night on September the 1st, and we can come back next year and look up at the sky at night on September the 1st, and we can notate that we're looking at exactly the same sky if we're standing in the same place. The same thing is so for reprogramming our subconscious mind. And today is the beginning of the training process for making that happen for anyone who chooses to do it. I have penned a little booklet. It's called Retraining the Subconscious. It's simple. There's hardly any pages in it at all. You can see that's it. It's a practice that takes every day. And just as an example of what that practice looks like, I will share an excerpt from the very first retraining application. And to begin with, we need to define what retraining is. Retraining consciousness is specific spiritual practice within oneself, upon oneself, about oneself, to change one's self. Retraining is a conscious change of thought, and the work begins and ends in the thought of the one applying the retraining. Retraining is the science of inducing within consciousness concepts, acceptances, and realizations of whatever the practical need may be. And that's the beginning of our new practice. Over the next days and weeks, we will be practicing this training. We will take it upon ourselves of our own volition to retrain our consciousness to embrace the quality of our spiritual being, having a human experience. I thank you for supporting me. Your monetary contributions are important to keeping this moving forward. You may make a contribution at paypal.me/M Mystic, capital MYSTICPAUL. paypal.me/mystic with a capital M Paul. All one word. Your contributions are greatly appreciated. I acknowledge you as the presence of God. I invite you to acknowledge yourself as the presence of God. I invite you to realize that we can change the world when we change our subconscious thought process. Because our subconscious thought process that we were given to train ourselves to get to this place in time is no longer required. I love you. I acknowledge you. I respect you. I embrace you in my hugs. I acknowledge you at the presence of God wherever you are. And all is well. Namaste. Namaste. Namaste.